All right, well, let me first say, I appreciate you all being here in spite of how hungry you are. I won't be offended if you continue to go grab fruit. As Tiffany alluded to, I am a proud New Orleanian. For those of you who were here for Danielle's speech, I am so much a New Orleanian that I have lived in a shotgun house, a Creole cottage, and a Center Hall cottage. I think what you're going to find is actually there's a bit of dovetail between what Danielle said and what you'll hear from us, which is surprising, but except for the fact that we're in New Orleans. Anyway, my name is Allison Stouse. I am a proud New Orleanian and also a graduate of the master's program at the School School of Architecture. Is anybody here from Tulane? No, the locals don't come. Are there any? One, just one. How are the tents? The tents that your classes are in? Yeah. Sorry about that. I served as the project director for the Louisiana Children's Museum in City Park, overseeing all aspects of planning, design, and construction through it to its opening in 2019. My involvement, however, started a long time ago in early 2005 when, as a member of the Louisiana Children's Museum's board, I began participating in conversations about the museum's future. At the time, LCM was considering renovations to its existing facility, which was in a historic warehouse in our warehouse district, either renovating that or potentially moving to a more accessible location. The vision was initially quite modest, but a combination of need and opportunity compelled us on a much more ambitious journey. Sorry, we weren't starting. So this is the Louisiana Children's Museum as it stands today, and where some of you were lucky enough to visit. In late August, early September 2005, you saw earlier pictures of this as well, Hurricane Katrina wreaked havoc on New Orleans, leaving devastating effects in its wake. As you might imagine, the destruction left in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina left citizens with incredibly tough choices to make. Do we relocate from the city we love, or do we stick it out for what would be a very long slog to recovery? Do we rebuild as we had, as it was, or do we reimagine what the city could be and embrace transformative change? And I'm really proud to say that for those of us who stayed, the prevailing sentiment was that we must and we could and we would build back better. Louisiana Children's Museum, LCM as it's known, was no exception. The Louisiana Children's Museum is a unique organization like other children's museums that serve very young children and their families. And it recognized its distinct role in fostering healing post-Katrina. By necessity, for a short time, we had to put aside any thought of the future and focus on repairing our building that suffered damage and getting reopened to the public. Simultaneously, and under the leadership of then CEO Julia Bland, LCM committed to expanding our outreach and our satellite presence to reach communities in dire need of healing. LCM's staff immersed themselves in devastated neighborhoods with play-centered therapeutic programming where, it just occurs to me that you might be interested, they were in these pop-up geodesic domes, they were quite cool. But the therapeutic programming where they saw firsthand how the pre-existing challenges, such as struggling K-12 education systems, incredibly high crime rates, and economic and racial disparities across our city were exacerbated by the hurricane's aftermath. The separation of families, the loss of homes, the disrupted routines, the closed schools, all created incredibly unstable conditions that amplified the impact on young children. So, in 2007, when we were able to come back to the table to reimagine our future for LCM, we had a new starting point. We were inspired by the need that was quite evident that we saw in our communities, and we also saw an opportunity in this post-Katrina environment where like-minded professionals, neighborhood leaders, civic leaders, educators were all seeking collaborative ways to rebuild a better New Orleans for our children. And with that, LCM embraced a bigger and bolder vision. This new vision was not merely about going larger in scale. It was about seizing upon this unique post-Katrina environment that created the possibilities to imagine and to realize a more impactful and ambitious vision. Children's museums hold unique positions as institutions that cater specifically to young children from birth to ages 8 or 10 and their caregivers. Unlike a school where a child goes in independently, we see multi-generational audiences. During the critical, crucial years, early years of a child's life, especially birth to age 3, when a child's brain is still forming, the impact of their everyday experiences cannot be overstated. Everyday experiences play a pivotal role in shaping life outcomes for everything from physical and mental health to school readiness to the ability to forming lasting, meaningful, healthy relationships. So that's where we started. We did not start with a program, we did not start with the building design, but we started by laying the foundation and building the framework for the impactful, interactive, everyday experiences we aim to provide for our children. To do that, we collaborated with the Museum Experiences consultant Jean Bergeron out of Minneapolis, who worked in concert with our selected exhibit design team, Gyroscope, out of Oakland, California, to formulate what we call the master planning framework. This comprehensive document became the guiding compass for every subsequent decision we made. There were 3 key touchstones that emerged from that framework that we returned to again and again at every step in our process. First, the planning framework established a holistic image of the child as inherently full of potential, embodying innate qualities such as being caring and helpful, inquisitive and curious, imaginative and resourceful, engaging and playful. Starting with this assets-based view of a child provided to be an extremely powerful, if unusual, point of departure for all design processes. Second, we drew from the Reggio Emilia approach to learning, which underscores the significance of early childhood experiences, particularly these everyday experiences, to identify the key experiences essential for optimal development. Examples of the essential experiences we identified were things like fostering a robust sense of self, cultivating supportive relationships with adults, ensuring a personal sense of well-being, and facilitating a child's expanding worldview. Once we had identified these essential experience categories, once we had them defined, we could then map them and map out the strategies, the processes, the partnerships, the focus areas through which we would deploy and deliver the experiences. This map, this chart that you're looking at, became the starting point for our interactive exhibit planning that provided super clear guidance for our subsequent design endeavors. Lastly and thirdly, the planning framework identified sustainability and stewardship as the lens through which we would filter all decisions. LCM's commitment to sustainability and stewardship starts with the acute awareness that was driven home by Katrina, that we live in a rich but at-risk ecosystem that is the lifeblood of our economy, of our traditions, of our music, of our literature, of our very good food. LCM's commitment to sustainability and stewardship is then cemented by the conviction that supporting optimal, sustainable outcomes for young children yields immeasurable long-term positive impact on neighborhoods, on cities, on states, in areas such as public safety, economic opportunity, family health and wellness, and richness of culture. So the planning framework, having defined these foundational principles, the image of the child, the essential experiences, our commitment to sustainability and stewardship, led us to our next step, which was arguably LCM's most substantive research initiative. Oh, that's my slide for sustainability, sorry. We were keenly aware that children's interests, their curiosities, and their unique perspectives were indispensable to shaping experiences that would authentically reflect a child's view of the world. And with this knowledge, LCM conducted multiple focus groups with young children. These child-centered workshops proved transformative for the project. In a series of visitor panels, children illustrated what excited them most and what kind of interactive experiences would be exciting for them. And then, with their parents, they mapped why and how various components of the experiences they had imagined excited them. Then they returned to LCM in its old location and shared their ideas with our exhibit team, Gyroscope. This collaboration between children and the exhibit team planted the seeds for some of our most beloved exhibits at LCM today. In this example here, you see one child's idea, Kennedy, age 9, of walking into a 3D version of a 2D painting. And what that yielded, and you'll see in a future slide that Rich will show you, is a magical playhouse that is the three-dimensional expression of a painting by a beloved local artist, Terrence Osborne. Here you see another child's fascination with exploring a variety of smells and exploring the 5 senses, which led to a sensory exhibit where children experience everything from the smell of curry to the smell of smelly feet, creating engaging and often very humorous interactions with scent. In a separate workshop, it was a series of workshops, children were involved in water journals, where they documented their experiences, their knowledge, and their feelings about water through both writing and through photography. We gave them disposable cameras and they took rolls of film. This exercise revealed the amazing connections children in this city have to water, the role that water plays every day in their everyday experiences, and sadly, the enduring fear of water left in a generation of children by Hurricane Katrina. Their reflections, as shared with LCM and the exhibit team, evolved into the guiding force behind the overarching thematic thread that runs through everything at LCM and City Park: water. A central goal of the exhibit design, the landscape design, and the building design became to connect children intimately and joyously to water as a supporter of diverse life, a driver of a vibrant economy, a shaper of some of our most fun and treasured local traditions, and most of all, is just plain fun. It was under this canopy of Gifts of the River that 5 multi-dimensional galleries of exhibits evolved, each with its own unique water component. So while these are just a few examples of what the work we did with children to lay the foundation of the architectural work, I hope I'm succeeding at communicating that we could not have arrived at the extraordinary outcome that some of you experienced today, and I hope if you didn't, that you'll have a chance to go, without the extensive investment we made to engage in ongoing, direct, intimate, and intense dialogue with very young children. There was, however, one other key ingredient to our success. We certainly would not have created this singular, joyful place without a collaborative architect who would embrace our approach to the project and to partner with us in an ever-thoughtful process to get it right. In 2008, through the lens of sustainability and stewardship, and always with the child at the center of our thinking, we embarked on our search, approaching 14 nationally recognized architecture firms, and evaluated each against a set of stiff criteria reflecting LCM's vision and priorities for the project. We sought a firm with a successful track record of crafting interactive indoor and outdoor experiences for children, commitment to site-specific, highly contextual architecture, and of course, extensive experience in sustainable design. Our search led us to Methuen. Methuen's spirit of inquiry and collaboration, and the fact that it was founded on principles of contextual design inspired and informed by nature, resonated with LCM. Additionally, the team immediately shared our optimism for the potential of the project and brought a blend of environmental expertise and sustainable practices that align seamlessly with LCM's goals. The Methuen team, led by Franko, embraced our child-centered approach, adopted our research as central to their own inspiration, and shaped their design process to respond in a singular way to the specificity of our site in City Park, to the context of New Orleans and South Louisiana, and to the aspirations of the Louisiana Children's Museum. They brought with them their integrated approach to design that would powerfully connect the building and all who entered it to its beautiful surroundings, as well as create wondrous native landscapes filled with enchanting moments of beauty, wonder, and discovery. Best of all, their unfailing positivity and playfulness brought joy to every step of the process, and that has been indelibly infused into every detail of the design. There is a whole team of wonderful Methuenies to thank for the amazing journey we took together over 11 years to bring the Louisiana Children's Museum into being. But they were led by the Methuen partner, Franko, who I am delighted to turn the stage over to now. Please welcome my friend, Franko.
Okay, I can live up to that. So, it was an amazing team on this project, and I would say one of our early promises to the team at LCM was that we would try and create a place that could only be on this site. And I think that's a quest in a lot of our projects through understanding the site and the ecosystem and the mission and how people use the building, that we create something that could only be there. And sometimes that might sound like an obvious thing, but sometimes there's buildings that feel very transferable. The site moved from the warehouse district to an existing building that's to the lower right, to this amazing city park. And we were just so struck at City Park by the amazing live oak trees. It's the largest collection of mature live oaks in the world, some up to 500 years old, and we were just kind of blown away by their spatial quality as well as their ecosystem function. This is one that's on our site, just has this amazing cantilevered form, and became the entry to the building. And then also early diagrams, starting to think about what are unique things about New Orleans and South Louisiana, about the Mississippi and the meander, the relationship of land and water. So just a foot or 2 feet here make a gigantic difference in what's above and below grade. Courtyards, shading, bridges, the weave of land and water. So with those in mind, we started looking at the site, and these red circles represent the live oaks. So we wanted to kind of weave in and around them so that the site plan skewed the buildings onto the lagoon with this wonderful view, and then to have live oaks that could also be present and close to the building. Another aspect, it's a public park. We wanted to make sure that everybody in the park could walk through and have some experience, some level of experience without entering. That when you entered the museum, that you were then started to think about entering out into the landscape, so that we were inspired by some writings in the early 2000s about No Child Left Inside, of trying to get children out as an integral part of the experience. And that's really different than the old experience, which was fully indoors. As we started to locate adjacent to the trees, you get a sense of the proximity here. This is the Acorn Cafe, which is available to the public without entering. But on the deck, you can look out into, right into the upper canopy of a live oak. And then the theme of water, really important theme that Allison discussed. So in trauma-informed design, trying to think of ways, gentle ways for children to engage water. So we designed an entrance with this diatom-shaped platform and worked with Fujiko Nakaya, a artist from Tokyo, to create this mist environment so that every child could enter, walk through, play. It's kind of about a 15-minute cycle going on and off. But it creates a subtle way to engage around water in a way that's both comforting but also really immersive. As you enter into the building along the porch, there's things that are both tactile and changing. The glass beads on the rail are inspired by the original Mardi Gras beads that are made of glass. The shading patterns change throughout the day. And then these columns that are inspired by the color of young shoots, somewhere between plant shoots, between green and yellow. And these also have a tactile sense to them, these glass beads, because the sun touches them, but they also can spin. And so it creates a rich experience by layering multiple aspects that connect both to this place and to a child's experience as they come through the building. For sustainability, we were a LEED Gold certified building. We did some fundamental things around resilience, especially elevating the building 5 feet. That earlier photo was a photo of the site flooded during Katrina. So the building is elevated, but also is open below so that water can pass underneath it. Extensive shading to the south and to the west. Uses a unique system of in-floor radiant cooling, which keeps kind of the cools down to the lower zone of the building. That was unusual at that time in the area. And then certain elements of materials and using SCMs in the concrete to lower the global warming potential, and multiple strategies throughout the building. Going back to the theme of water, as we were developing the project, the city of New Orleans was in the process of developing their own a new stormwater code, a new way to think about water. So we were in a receiving area and designed the site to receive up to 3 feet of water. And so in times of large rainfalls, because rain can come a lot and very fast. I live in Seattle where it comes slowly and very small, but there's a lot of rain. So this is a place where there's a deluge, and so the idea is that it absorbs that, the plantings that are in those areas can accept that type of periodic flooding and then persist. So it's an example of kind of incorporating both resilience in the design, but also the realities of stormwater. You can see that this large procession that comes up is getting you up to the elevated 5 feet, that the tree that we saw earlier is to the right, that big tree that cantilevers across. So it forms the entrance as you come into the museum. As you come over the west porch, you can see the mist bridge beyond and the porch as you kind of enter around to the right. And then the building encloses the courtyard so that it makes it visible from all spaces, from many spaces within the museum. So encouraging children to go outside. And then there's 2 areas. There's kind of this closer area within, and then as you move up the site, it has kind of a more pastoral feel with a variety of activities, including ones that are building off of the water that comes into the cistern. It's a 900-gallon cistern, so water flows in and through. For example, this area was kind of the hopping sculpture kind of embedded, as well as areas where you can look out to the landscape around it. There's everything from pelicans to alligators out in the lagoon, so there's lots to see. We had a wonderful opportunity to design a multi-generational bench. So we took that as an opportunity to do some computer-assisted design where we looked at making a form that would shed water when it rains, but also have the varying ergonomic profiles from young children to older folks. So the bench both kind of supports multiple generations as well as its water flow across. Now, as all these things, one of the realities, it's used a lot by kids to run across really fast. So, you can design, there's a lot of design intention, and it is great to see how things get used after you design them. One of the ideas we had was about spatial variety, or variability of having spaces that are very low and small for children, but also really tall spaces. And that's like in nature, when you're in the forest, there's very tall areas under the canopy, there's small low places under lower plates. So we call these kindos. They're kind of little miniature bay windows, and they occur throughout different parts of the building. This particular part, this young person's looking out at a vine that supports the fritillary butterfly. So certain times of the year you can look out and see butterflies going along it. But it also provides a space within a space. And sometimes museums and kid spaces can be overwhelming, and both for acoustically and spatially, it's wonderful to have a space you can retreat into. So we have a variety of different sizes, some that can roll in, some that close a little more, some that connect back to the exhibit. So here the exhibit is Dig into Nature, and the intent was that it connects back out to the outside. Some other design features in the connecting gallery that connects the 2 primary building volumes. We did a lot of work with circles and water, so the frit pattern that's blocking the sun on the walls is the same size as the penetrations in the perforated guardrails, and it kind of gives this sense of almost atmospheric sense to it with the combination of the frit and the shadows. And then we carried that into the floor where we inscribed circles and almost like raindrops, and it's really fun to see how kids kind of move around these. We had also things that came up from some of the folks working on the project, like our mill workers found this sinker cypress that comes from a collection of this really interesting Louisiana naturalist, and that became the reception desk. So it's really tactile and brings a deeply local quality to that. Allison mentioned earlier Terrence Osborne, an artist, and they were fantastic. LCM getting different local artists to do installations. And just beyond where the kids are standing, you can see Terrence's installation, Terrence Osborne's piece within one of the galleries. The top galleries are daylit. You can see the kindos off to the side. And these are two pieces created by mural by Alex Beard, the trees by Jacques Defroc, and Gyroscope, both Gyroscope and the museum kind of worked with them to integrate them into the experience. And these are the kind of things that create that local feeling and are, I think, really essential, and also point to a bigger picture. For example, as architects or landscape architects, we can design certain elements, but both the art and the environmental graphics and multiple elements give it a much richer series of layers of a layered experience. We worked with Studio Matthews, and they worked for the environmental graphics. You can see some of the drawings from the kids that they incorporated into the logo and into the rebrand, and that continues throughout the entire museum experience and from inside to the outside. And then it's always important to celebrate the team. This is a recent photo from Seattle. This is our quarterback of the University of Washington team. When he went up for the Heisman Trophy submission, he didn't win, but I thought it was so amazing that his jacket was lined with all the names of the players on his team. And to me, that was a really powerful statement about what it takes to make things happen, especially on large projects, which I guess football is one large project. But for architecture and for design, there's so many people that come together and create the vision. This was some members of our team out meeting plans before the big opening, out working, and just wanted to mention Wagner Ball, who are local architects, and the LCM vision, which is so strong, because we work on many projects, and not every project has a strong vision, and it's just a privilege to be able to engage on a project that is like that has an amazing site, an amazing vision, and an amazing story. And so with that, I'll keep talking a bit until Tiffany comes over. This is a shot from the upper part of the site looking back. You can see the view off to the side.
It is such a treat to have both Rich and Allison with us this evening to speak to you all. I thought it was a great idea to have them here, and you're hearing from architects that are actually practicing and have these amazing projects across the country. So let's, in wrapping up, talk a little bit about what makes this project unique from a user perspective or from a practitioner perspective. So the project was conceived and executed in a way that allows us to live out the values of the organization, and one of those values is sustainability. So Rich talked about the cistern, the 900-gallon cistern. So that allows us to live out sustainability in the way that we, water the landscaping and reuse water. It supports the mission of being a place for all ages, a place where all can come together. It connects to nature. Remember, Rich said, no child left inside. It highlights the importance of spending time in the outdoor environment. It connects to STEM through everyday common experiences and moments that are relatable to the families and the children. And then it also connects to place, and I talked about, being rooted in where we are. I've been in the field, like I said, for 28 years and having lived in other places. project was very successful in being culturally specific and steeped in the geographic location where we are here in New Orleans. You can't take these exhibitions and these experiences out of this museum and put them in any other city and they will work, because they're all related to where we are and how we live here in New Orleans and Southeast Louisiana. So it celebrates the heritage and the culture of this place. And it's achieved the goals that it set out to accomplish. The intention wasn't static, it wasn't a moment in time. It was designed and built to allow the organization to grow over time. It's flexible, and when I say flexible, I mean it allows moments of all possibilities to happen for the museum. The museum can capture all possibilities. So we went through this pandemic, and that was a difficult time for everyone, and there were lots of pivots that were happening, and LCM was doing its own pivots. But because we had just opened this building, and we had this building that was designed with such intention, we were able to look at how can we utilize the building even though we're not open to the public. And that was done through a local school that actually had their school day at the museum. It was Langston Hughes Academy. And they were able to come to school and enjoy time at the museum and having their curriculum play out in this very interactive and dynamic environment. You see the children here. And one quote from a child was, "I love to go to school because we get to go to school at the Children's Museum." And for us, that just makes our heart go pitter-patter, because we know we're having the impact that we want to have, and that the building is allowing us to do that. So it's a pivotal experience for all. So overall, I just want to end by saying it's not just about a singular exhibition space or experience, or the indoor versus the outdoor. It's about the journey that you have, that you take as you migrate through the experiences of the total space that you have. It's the rich and dynamic choreography of spaces that meets the families and the children where they are and allows them to experience something new and relevant in their everyday lives and every single visit that they have to the museum. So thank you for your attention and time this evening. We really appreciate it, and I hope that you were able to enjoy these two. I get a chance to work with them, Rich, not as often as Allison, and I think they are amazing human beings, but they're also amazing professionals in the field. Thank you.